Hello everyone, this is Chetan Mehta from Skill Cubator. Welcome you all in today's session. In this session, we will see how to create a business process diagram. And this is part A of the series in which we will understand what exactly is a business process, what is the importance of creating a business process, especially as part of a business analysis work. Then we will see some of the key notations or some basic business process notations which any business analyst must know in order to create a business process model. But before we go ahead and talk about a business process, let's talk about what exactly is a business process. So, a business process, in a very simple terms, it's a set of tasks or activities performed by a human being or an application system machine, wherein each of these task activity takes some sort of input, will do some processing, and it will give an output. So the output of one task or activity becomes an input of the next task or activity, right? So each task, each activity will take an input, will do some processing, and it will give an output for the next activity. Another important thing is each process has process participants. Most of the times, the process participants will be a human being, what we also call as an actor, people who work, who support the business process in getting things done, in getting your work done, right? It can also be an application, a system, software, which is doing the work on its own, like automated tasks. Or it can be a combination of both, a human being using an application in order to do some task. One last thing about this is that each business process has a definite start and an end event. So the process will start and end. So at the end of the process, you must have achieved the goal for which you started the process. For example, you want to buy a pizza. So you start the process, and at the end of the process, you must have the pizza arrived at your doorstep, right? That's when you can say the process is complete. Or you deposit a check in your bank account, and at the end of the process, that check has to be cleared, right? That's when you will see that the money has been deposited into your account. Until then, your process is not complete, right? I'm talking about the happy path here. There can also be an instance where things can go differently. For example, the check gets declined because of insufficient balance. What do we do then? We need to take those scenarios also into consideration, right? So those we call exceptions or exception flows or alternate workflows. We'll talk about that in the second series, part B. But let's go and understand at a very high level what exactly is a business process. So here we can see a conceptual view of a business process. You won't be drawing it when you're drawing a business process. You won't be using these notations. This is just to understand and explain what exactly is a business process from a very high level, from a conceptual point of view. So here we are talking about a customer placing an order with an organization, and at the end of it, he or she receives the order or the products which he or she has ordered. So the customer is the process participant here. Customer initiates the process because he or she wants to buy something from this organization. So he or she prepares the order, submits the order. It comes to the second participant, who is the order processing clerk. So her job is to process an order, make sure that the order is complete and everything is in place. So again, there are some steps involved, tasks involved, wherein he or she will be doing it. Once this task is over, then the flow goes to the next level, where the customer's bank is being requested to pay the money. Because the rule is you should not process an order before the payment is cleared. So now the flow goes to the customer's bank, where we are requesting the money from the customer. Right? So once that happens, once a customer's bank has been charged with the amount and the amount has been received, the flow goes to the next level, where the warehouse department comes into play. Somebody from the warehouse department will do some activity. They will go to the aisle or someplace, physically go, pick the item and send it to the next level, which is the quality assurance. You want to make sure that the item is not defective, and hence someone will be doing a quality assurance. So there is a work involved here, some steps involved here. So this person will be involved in doing a quality check or a quality assurance, make sure that the quality is, the product is defect free. Once that is done, it goes for packaging. Somebody will pack the item, make sure that it's safe, secure, and it will be shipped properly, and the customer will receive it without any defect, or it's not broken, things like that. And then it's loaded, delivered, and received by the customer. Right? So we can see that each step has some work involved, and there is some actor or some business process participant who is responsible for doing that task or activity. Process starts and ends. The process starts when the customer submits an order, and the process ends when the customer receives the order. Right? That's when we can say the process ended and the goal of the process has been accomplished. Now, this is what we call the happy path or the basic workflow, where we are able to achieve the goal of this process. But now let's think about what can go wrong in this whole scenario. Now, imagine the customer doesn't have sufficient funds in the bank, and when the request goes here in the customer's bank for the money, because of insufficient funds, the payment cannot be processed. I'm sure the process will be either stopped, right? Because we don't want to give an order before we receive the payment, if that's the case. Right? Either the process will be terminated, or it will be on hold, or if the rule says we can still go ahead and process the order, that's fine too. Depending on the requirements and depending on the needs of the customer, we need to design the process. But there can be possibilities, different scenarios here. So either the customer has funds in the account, it will go as per normal path or basic workflow. Customer doesn't have funds, so either it will be terminated or it will be suspended, right? So there's multiple possibilities here. Now what happens here? When the product comes for quality check, it may be possible that 1 out of 10 products might be defective, right? Or 2 of them are defective. We don't know. So when the quality check is happening, we cannot be 100% sure that each and every product will be successful or will pass this test. So again, there is a possibility that a product may either pass or fail this check, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that in your process, there might be some instances where you may have to decide, or there is some sort of validation or multiple outcomes happening at certain stage in the process. So we will have to see how to model those scenarios. And then think about the documents, artifacts, work products created or generated during the process. Like for example, here, when we are creating, here the customer is creating an order, there might be some document generated or created by the customer. When the customer's bank is requested for the payment and the payment is cleared, there might be some documents generated, invoice or receipts might be generated and during this step, right? When the quality check is being performed and if the product is successfully tested, there might be some documents generated, or even if it fails, we need to create some sort of document to document all what happened. So there might be some documents, work products generated during these steps. We need to capture those as well during the process modeling when we are trying to capture all the steps in our model. Now, what is the importance? Why do we need to have a business process? Can't we just write down the text and explain what we can do or what we just discussed in the previous slide? The key thing is, as you might have heard, that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Right? A picture is worth 1,000 words. That means you have one picture or one model you can convey without putting a lot of words, sentences, documents in a very simple way. And a business process technique is one of the most powerful technique for a BA to use when you are doing analysis work. It helps us create how things are being done in the current state or as a state. We can document things, the current process of your client or of your department, organization. Based on your current state, you can identify all the pain points, issues, inefficiencies in your current state process. Right? If you don't have that pictorial view, it's very difficult for you to even understand what's going on, and more difficult to identify the pain points or weakness in your process. Right? It also helps you design your new process, future state or to be processes. Because your to be state process or future state process is something which will be used to define and develop your solution for the client. So whether it's as is or to be, you need to understand what exactly is a business process, what are the different notations involved, and how to create one. And if you can nail this down, definitely you can be a very good business analyst, because in almost each and every project you will need this skill. You can also use your future state or to be state process to see which things in the process or which steps in the process can be automated or can be system enabled, right? And you can make your process more efficient, effective by designing a new state process. Right? Basically, you are making your process more effective, efficient, and that will basically help the organization in general. So as I said, a business process is a set of activities where each activity takes an input, does the processing, and give an output, right? And at the end of the process, you must have derived some sort of value out of it and achieved the goal for which you started the process. Whether the process is related to ordering a pizza or clearing a check or buying tickets online, whatever it is, you must achieve the goal for which you initiated the process. Second thing, each process has its own participants, human beings, what we call an actors, right? People like customers, managers, or associates. Those are the people who will be part of the process. As I said, it can also be applications, machines who are also involved in the process. As you might have noticed, a lot of things we do it using some sort of software application, right? So they are also part of the process. Within the process, different steps or different task activities, there can be three major categories we can think of. One is manual task. That means human being has to do those tasks and there's no support from the system or application. Things like you walk to the aisle to grab a product, or you're calling your customer or supplier for some reason. So these things are done outside the application, right? But still it's a task, it's part of the process. That's why we call it a manual task. Second category is system enabled. That means a human being is using an application software to do a process or a part of the process, some sort of task or activity. So in order to check my email, I go into my email application, login, right? So I'm using a software to check my email, but it needs some sort of input from me, from the user, from the actor, right? So system enabled. And then there are automated tasks where it doesn't need any involvement of a human being, like reports generated every day at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, or emails sent to the customer upon some trigger, or notifications sent to the suppliers or to the students, right? These are examples where you don't need any human being doing this. It's system or application doing it on behalf of the human being. Output can be tangible output or intangible. So tangible output can be at the end of the process, you can see that there's a finished product coming out of the process. That's a tangible item, tangible substance. Intangible is, you get some sort of service at the end of the process. You don't see it, but still there's a value creation, or there is some sort of value achieved at the end of the process. So training is one example. You start the training, you end the training. You don't get anything tangible, but yes, there is intangible value that you got more knowledge, you are more trained, you have more skills, and you are now ready for the job or interview, whatever it is. Next, as I said, each step, each task activity has an input. It will do some processing and it will give an output at the end of the task. So each step, each activity will do this. And then the gateways or decision points. So as we discussed, your process, will not always have a happy path. There might be some instances wherein at certain stage in the process, your process will have some sort of gateways or decision points. You need to check some conditions, make some validations, and depending on that, the flow will change. So that's what we call the decisions or gateways. And each process will have a definite start and definite end. And in between your start and end events, the process will happen. So these are some of the basic notations we will use to create our process model. So the first notation is basically used for the start and end events. So when you want to start your process or when you want to end your process, you will be using this notation. We call it start event or end event. And depending on the tool you use, this notation might slightly differ. Some tools have circles, some tools have a different notation, but more or less it will be like a circular notation, a circle or similar to this. The next one is what we call the pool. The pool is that notation which will hold your process. Just like a swimming pool holds the water, this pool will hold the process. Right? The entire process resides within the pool. And within the pool, you have different swim lanes. Just like a swimming pool has multiple swim lanes within that pool, each swim lane is taken by a swimmer. Similarly here, each swim lane is taken by a process participant. Nobody can come in that in that swim lane which belongs to a process participant. Right? So the pool is the entire body which is holding the process, and within the pool you have different swim lanes. Each swim lane will be owned by a process participant, and no one else can enter that swim lane except the owner of that process participant. Also, you can have multiple swim lanes in one pool. Depending on how many participants you have in the process, you will need those many swim lanes. Next, your task or activities. Any work that is being done by the process participant will be shown like this as a rectangle. This is known as your task or activities. So any work that is being done, you will use this notation. Like for example, creating an order, reviewing an order, clearing a check, posting a check, generating reports. Some work that is being done, whether it's done by a human being or done by a system application, right? You will use this notation, a rectangle. It can also be a rounded rectangle or a sharp rectangle, or some people show it as a square. It doesn't matter, right? Generally, it is a rounded rectangle or a sharp rectangle. The next one is your gateways. This is known as a gateway, decision points. Some people also call it diamond. This is used for making some checks, validations, whether you're validating a policy, procedure, business rules, whatever it is, you'll be using this notation. And the last but not the least, this arrow is known as a sequence flow. Your sequence flow will determine in which direction the control of the process is going. It will help you connect two notations. And the arrow, you can see the head of the arrow, in whichever direction it is pointing, the control is going towards that direction. right? So these are the basic notations you will be using to create your process model. So in this session, we will stop here. The idea was to just set the stage, set the context for the next session. So in series B or part B of this series, we will do a demonstration. We will use a tool, Microsoft Visio. Using these basic notations, we will take a scenario and build a process model, and we will see how we can handle different scenarios like exception points or alternate workflows, and how we can document the artifacts or some sort of documents which are created or generated as part of this process. So thank you very much for watching this, and for all your training needs, please do contact us, Skillcubator. Our phone number is 703-200-9921. Email is info@skillcubator.com, and the website is www.skillcubator.com. Thanks for watching, and please do subscribe to the channel, and please like if you like this video. Thank you. Bye.